16-year-old boy crossed alone from Mexico into Texas in early June. Having fled death threats from gangs in Honduras, he is seeking asylum in America. The boy, known by the American Civil Liberties Union (ACLU) as JBBC to protect his identity, has not had the chance to make his case. Instead, the American government is trying to deport him. His father, who lives in Houston, is distraught. "I don't want to imagine what will happen if he returns to Honduras. It's too bad," he says of his son. On June 9, the ACLU made an emergency bid to halt the deportation. At a hearing on June 24, a federal judge let the boy stay while the case proceeds. It is a test case. The ACLU is also asking the court to throw out President Donald Trump's most draconian restrictions yet on those pleading for protection in America. Mr. Trump has made two big changes to the asylum system recently. One is speedily to remove hundreds of children, like JBBC, who normally are allowed to live in the country while their claims are adjudicated. The other is to turn most asylum seekers away. On March 20, the administration banned people who may carry an infectious disease from entering the country at land border crossings. Citizens, permanent residents and commercial lorry drivers were all exempted, but the restrictions do cover, among others, migrants who arrive at the southern border to seek asylum. Temporary at first, the ban was extended indefinitely, to be renewed every 30 days. Mr. Trump has long groused about the increase in asylum seekers at the southern border. Their share among unauthorized border crossers was 13% in 2018, up from 3% in 2014. He thinks they make frivolous claims for protection when really they are fleeing poverty or want to be reunited with relatives in America. His solution has been to tighten eligibility criteria and force asylum seekers to wait in Mexico during their cases, making it less appealing. But the latest rule, justified on public health grounds, is blunter than anything yet, since it in effect shuts off asylum as an option. Because of the pandemic, fewer migrants are anyway trying to enter America. Travel restrictions imposed by Central American governments have made it harder to travel north. In May 21, 475 people were caught crossing the border from Mexico illegally, up from April but down by a third from February and March, before restrictions were imposed. The number remains low by historical standards. What is more, under the post-pandemic rules, those who cross illegally are expelled faster than ever before, in 96 minutes, on average. In normal times, migrants apprehended by Border Patrol agents are taken to a facility and then swiftly deported, but if they express fear of returning home, they are allowed a meeting with an asylum officer, triggering a lengthy vetting process. According to a memo from Customs and Border Protection, seen by ProPublica, a non-profit news organization, they must now persuade the agent who intercepts them that they could be tortured if sent back. Agents do not raise the issue. The offering of the information must be spontaneous. The speed is key, says Cristobal Ramon of the Bipartisan Policy Center, a think tank. Good luck convincing an agent in minutes that you fear torture and deserve legal recourse. The effect of the new policy is to circumvent the immigration court system. Not that winning asylum was easy before. In the most recent fiscal year, which ended in September 2019, 84% of decided claims from Salvadorans, Guatemalans, Hondurans and Mexicans, the four nationalities most represented, were denied. Sarah Pierce of the Migration Policy Institute, another think tank, calls the new rule completely unprecedented. Under the 1967 UN Protocol relating to the status of refugees, which America ratified, people are entitled to asylum if they face persecution in their home countries because of their race, religion, nationality, membership of a social group or political opinion. Domestic law lets anyone on American soil apply for asylum. Migrants may not be deported to countries where they face torture. The treatment of unaccompanied children like JBBC is another departure from precedent that all grants them special protection while their cases went through the system. Unlike adults, they usually live with sponsors in America. Yet of the 766 who arrived at the border in April, only 62 were allowed to stay, compared with 1,852 in March. No explanation has been given for why some can stay but not others. Legal Ant, a lawyer with the ACLU, says the removals are happening so fast that most children cannot get legal help. The government is carrying out these expulsions in secret. Migrants whose asylum claims were already under review will have to wait longer for a decision. Court dates have been postponed because of the pandemic, some until next year. Conditions are precarious in the Mexican border towns where they wait. Many who had found jobs at factories have lost them because of pandemic-related closures, says Savitri Avi, a fellow at the Center for U.S.-Mexican Studies at the University of California, San Diego. Meanwhile, the number of people queuing to request asylum at official border crossings will grow. Already in Tijuana in March there were 9,600 people, since only several dozen can apply a day. The public health rationale for the ban looks tenuous, given the exemptions. Public health experts have urged the administration to ditch it and add the safeguards to asylum processing that have been adopted in airports and supermarkets: masks, hand sanitizer, plexiglass barriers, social distancing and so on. The administration argues that its public health authority supersedes asylum obligations. The ACLU points out that the public health law being invoked was historically used to quarantine people, not deport them. JBBC has neither shown COVID-19 symptoms nor been tested for the disease. Lucas Gutentag, a professor at Stanford University and a former lawyer at the Department of Homeland Security, notes that the administration's other coronavirus-related travel bans, covering arrivals from Brazil, Europe, China, and Iran, were issued under immigration statutes. Only this ban is justified on public health grounds, a transparent end run around the safeguards in immigration law. The ban does nothing to fix any underlying problems, such as the underfunding of immigration courts. Instead, the administration continues to rely on other governments for enforcement. That cooperation is fraying as the pandemic strains health systems in Central America and Mexico. Alejandro Giammattei, Guatemala's president, has berated America for deporting more than 100 migrants infected with COVID-19. In March he suspended a deal with America that forced migrants from countries farther south who travel through Guatemala to apply for asylum there first. Meanwhile, the administration is dismantling other protections for asylum seekers. It will bar those who entered the country illegally from working. And on June 25 the Supreme Court backed it, in denying unsuccessful asylum seekers the right to appeal in a federal court, if a judge in JBBC's case rules narrowly, letting him seek asylum but leaving intact the new public health rule. The Trump administration will have achieved a long-sought goal. It has been trying to do this for its entire term, says Mr. Gallant. Shut the border to asylum seekers. Reuse this content. The Trust Project lets block ads.
Show your love for him. Click the link in description. Thanks for watching.